Ig by Jake Attree and Matthew Calaby. There are lots of creatures who live in the woods and lots of the books you've read, but here's the story of a creature so large he lives on the woods instead. He has a huge belly and arms and legs that are all incredibly big. He has two bouncy ears either side of his face and a name, and it is Ig. You'd think that Ig's lonely up there by himself, lying on top of the trees. But Ig is so big that he's never alone because of his friends, the Igleys. And these tiny folk, compared to Ig, are all incredibly small. From the tips of his ears right down to his feet, there's enough room for them all. There's a town on his belly and swings on his fingers and even a house on his head. He's so big and squishy that walking on Ig is like bouncing all over a bed. But if you're an Igley, your favourite thing, which you couldn't make more fun if you tried, is to climb up and up all the way to his shoulders and slip down his arms like a slide. You can bounce off his knees and into the trees or have a holiday on his ear. You can see for miles and miles and miles as long as the air is clear. And when the day is done, you can sit on Ig's head with a cup of tea and some cake. The sky fills up with reds and pinks as the sun sinks over the lake. But one night when Ig was asleep, and all of the town was too, something buzzed from below the trees, then up in the air it flew. It sailed on up to the end of Ig's nose, buzzed and gave him a sting. Ig let out a snore, but was so fast asleep that he didn't feel a thing. The very next morning the sun sprang up, and Ig awoke with a frown. There were hundreds of bumps all over his body, scattered throughout the town. And when they peered through their windows and opened their doors, the Igleys got quite a fright. 3 ran off screaming, 2 passed out, and 1 house had doubled in height. The Igleys got thinking they needed a plan. Then someone had one at last. If Ig was feeling under the weather, he needed some medicine fast. But how will we make him drink it, one said. Surely he's far too big. All of the bottles and spoons in the town are far too small for Ig. There had to be a way to figure it out. The Igleys always got the job done. So they put their heads together again, and soon the work had begun. They divided in 2, and half of the town collected all the fruit that they saw, while the other half got straight to work on an Ig-sized cup and straw. Many coughs and sneezes later, from a cup the size of a house, the biggest straw in the history of straws stretched right up to Ig's mouth. And when the Igleys had finished mixing the fruit, Ig drank it down with a slurp. The town all waited for a second or two, then came a colossal burp. Ig beamed a huge smile, then let out a laugh, and all of the Igleys cheered. The sneezes and coughs had finally stopped, and the bumps all disappeared. Then it was time to get back to work on repairing what Ig had blown down. His enormous sneezes and great big coughs had made a mess in the town. A little bit later, with a touch more teamwork, things were as good as new. And if their Ig was poorly again, the Igleys would know what to do. So that's the story of the tiny town and their great big squishy friend, and how working together and lots of fruit got him on the mend. The end.